So I'm just going to do clap. That was like a 2 out of 10.
Not a Cornford clap, was it?
Below a 5, definitely.
Right, here we go.
That was the most awkward clap. It's like clapping with 2 slices of bacon.
I'm Josh.
I'm Josh.
And I'm not Josh, but together we are Joshing around in air.
I'm going to ask you, Sam, what have you got in your hand?
Oh, you noticed what I've got in my hand?
What's that in your hands?
Let's just leave that one for the I have a bottle.
Sorry, Sam, can you pull your trousers on, please?
I have but this works really well on podcast, actually, doesn't it? I have got a bottle in my hand with what looks like
candles to describe describing with items we're holding.
Oh, it's a professional podcast, everyone. It's professional.
I'm pretty certain this is what people are tuning in for, isn't it? Something about Conquest. Oh, brilliant.
Also, Sam, did you just decorate your tree in about 2 seconds? Because when I walked in today, you said your tree was completely undecorated.
I didn't say it was undecorated. I said that it was
90% done.
What that is children have grabbed a bunch of stuff and chucked it on.
Oh, okay.
And so, yeah, it needs a significant amount of work. And
sure.
Our tree is normally a bit busier than that.
That's a great looking tree, though.
Thank you.
I'm loving the kind of the beads instead of tinsel.
It's great. I hope all the viewers at home are appreciating it as well.
Sorry, the listeners.
As people staring into the screen of their phone. I hope there's a picture on here sometime. Nope, one is not coming.
Sorry, Sam, what have you got in my hand?
Actually, start again. There's a bottle in my hand.
Oh.
It has got what looks like a Nords shield on it, and the name that is below that is Valhalla Herbal Liqueur Shot. We were going to drink mead and then listen to the Just Roll Ones podcast, and they drank mead on their podcast too quickly, and so needed something different.
I've actually been trying to brew some mead for us to drink it, but unfortunately that takes quite a few months, and that does mean we were beaten to the finish line.
It says here at the bottom that this is the Nordic spirit, and so I would imagine this is liquefied Nordic spirit. That's the Spire's take on things. So
when they say, take a glass of Dutch courage, what we're getting is some Nordic courage
spirit,
right now.
Yeah,
Nordic spirit. My bad.
Yeah. That is not going to get picked up.
No.
Just for clarification, Sam has just very carefully poured some of this his beverage into a very small shot glass, and unfortunately there was a lack of ASMR going on.
Need to splash it more vigorously.
Just spill it all over yourself.
Oh man, that smells like medicine.
It smells like I need to go pillaging.
Smells like...
Sorry, has anyone got a boat we can hop onto?
Smells like rhubarb and vanilla.
Hey, look, if you've been paying attention to the previous podcast, you'll get that reference.
What do you think the Nords would say before downing their spirit?
I don't know. There's got to be a Nordic word for cheers. Should I look up the Danish for cheers?
For the Einherd jar.
No, that's perfect. Right, we're gonna go in cold to this, and we're gonna say for the whatever that word is, and don't even think about how to pronounce it. Just say it.
Right.
Right, you ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
For the iron
Oh, nice. Oh, I just totally down mine.
That's probably how you're meant to do it,
okay.
isn't it?
Yeah,
I don't know. I think it's described as a digestive.
Oh, really?
Oh,
But I can't imagine after having eaten, a full plate of burger and chips, thinking, "Oh, what would I like as my
yeah.
like an equivalent of dessert wine?" Oh yeah, give me a shot of medicine, please.
Yeah. Just give me some like premium sambuca, please.
It does have a bit of an aniseed.
It's got that aniseed kind of vibe, doesn't it? But
That
it's a lot nicer. It's a lot nicer.
That is definitely an something from the Norse people. They enjoy an aniseed flavour. I was in Sweden recently, which is where I got their Valhalla from, and it's like you couldn't move for licorice. Every shop that you went into, they were trying to sell you licorice. That was like their thing.
Oh, nice. That's amazing.
Is it warming licorice?
This is very warming. I feel like kind of all warm inside now. I feel like if I was, it's a little bit cold outside at the moment, and it's a little bit warmer in your house, but I'm feeling the warmth that this brings, and I'm like, if I was in the ice wastes of wherever the Nords live in Air, then I'll be loving this right now.
Yeah, there's something about a nice spirit. At the moment, I'm doing a whiskey advent calendar.
Nice.
So when you walk home after a cold day and have a nice warm whiskey, it's lovely.
Sorry, I'm just going to die slightly. Give me a second. Yeah, this is really warm, guys. Okay. Amazing. Right.
Well, I think that about wraps up this episode.
Yeah, thanks for listening. We have an email address. No. Right, do you guys want to hear the listener question for this week?
Yeah.
We've had one, a real one. Excellent. Yeah.
The conviction that was said with, I was impressed.
I've got an AS level in drama, I'll have you know.
I mean, I can tell. That was impressive. Here we go. Hi, Josh. Love the podcast. What are your thoughts on the existing terrain effects, and what others would you like to see introduced? Could add interesting tactical decisions. Cheers, your biggest fan.
That's a good question, I think.
Thank you, our biggest fan. It's very kind of you to send that in.
It's an interesting question because I feel like on existing terrain we don't really know much, because for quite a few years we've just had you've got those little physical houses. So we've had one type of terrain, which is you move around it.
Yeah.
And then after LGT this year, we bought some of those kind of 2D terrains, and we started to have hindering and all the rest, which I still can't remember all the rules for. But it feels much nicer having lots of terrain you can move over and affects charges and stuff. So I do like that. But I don't know what I'd do differently. No, I know what I'd do differently. I talked about me and Sam doing this a while ago, was trying to do a battle in a city.
Yeah, nice.
And I wanted to I was trying to think either have it 2 stands or 3 stands wide, make loads of roads and buildings and stuff. I mean, I did think it would just be awful because it would just be the grindiest game ever. You just have these if it's 2 stands wide, it would just take you so long.
Yeah, I mean, you want support in that situation, don't you?
Oh, you'd need support. And I don't know where you do the objectives and stuff. But I thought something like that would be quite cool because, lots of our battles are quite, obviously we do have a few hills and grass and water and stuff, but they're all quite big open areas. And I thought, and that doesn't really kind of fit the kind of style of game, but I thought, some sort of city battle would be quite fun. And again, I don't know how you do it objectively, but when we used to play Gorka Morka, we did like a siege, or like, you know, we're attacking someone was in a stronghold and you were attacking them.
Yeah, that was really fun.
And that was like really fun as well.
I think you had a prisoner of mine, and me and Sam both attacked your fort. It was brilliant.
That was like the final showdown, wasn't it?
Yes,
Where
that
we
was
sort of
our
wrapped
last
up
big
that
battle.
campaign.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was good.
yeah, and I freed my guy. And then you, as soon as we freed my guy, you just immediately turned on me.
Come on!
And started shooting me across the battlements of this fort. Yeah. And then my guy, who we freed, just died. And then we just all ran away. And Josh just came on with enough guys that he just murdered us all.
Classic.
And it was like, great.
Because I remember that the scenario was that like half of
Mission
my
failed
warband,
successfully.
half my warband was away on like a mission, and then there was just like one or two guys defending the keep. So you ran in, killed those guys, freed your guy, then in typical orc fashion just decided too many people are living and just started killing each other. And then my guys came back to the home like, oh, a battle's going on here.
Yeah. You're like, wait, what?
Let's join in.
Yeah. What? Man, that was
I think
good times.
a new terrain that would be interesting would be sticky mud.
Oh, yes.
So as you move through, you have to roll the dice, and on a 6, you can't move.
Okay. That would suck.
Well, I was thinking, actually, I'd quite like to introduce a mechanic.
Sinking sand or something,
Yeah, but not just dangerous terrain, like something that actually introduce a mechanic that would make that interesting. But I was thinking there was a particular in-joke that we had a while ago of where one of us would have a unit that was kind of in charging distance, but it was an ambitious charge. And so on the other person's turn, they would stand and make chicken noises.
Yes.
So I'd quite like there to be the introduction of a terrain, or at least a mechanic, where if it's on where maybe you could have it as an interrupt action. So if it's on the other person's turn and they are within a distance where they could charge, but you think it's unlikely they will, that you could sort of play. And if the other person doesn't charge, that you increase your resolve by 1 or something.
Oh, yeah. So you literally do the chicken resolve trigger.
Yeah. But if they do charge, then you have to suffer some penalty if it's a successful one, because that's pretty demoralizing to your own unit.
Man, there's got to be some ways I can use the actual angry chicken.
Yes,
The models that I've got from LGT in that would be amazing. That would be amazing.
Yeah, you get to replace a mini with the chicken.
Yeah. I think. Yeah, and you get all the stats from the chicken. Just
Suddenly transform.
Yeah. I think he had like appetite 3 or something. It's like, I don't know what that stat is, but I love it. But I think that there's a real, like Josh was saying, there was the more kind of 3D terrain we had. But yeah, there's been a big shift to like 2D terrain, and I think that's really like opened up our play a lot. And has allowed for like more charges, more like less just like I guess traffic jams. And I think that I really felt, especially as a 100 Kingdoms player where you're relying on cavalry charges, just getting traffic jammed all the time just felt so awful. Yeah. Whereas like now when there's like one piece of obstructing terrain on the board, you're like amazing. Obviously there's like hindering, obscuring and all of that. And that is annoying, but it's like, I'd rather still be able to do my thing, but get punished for doing it in the wrong area than just not being able to do it at all.
Yeah.
So I think that's been a positive change for our games.
Do you remember when we used to have like Sam's got like river tile and you could like build it up?
Yes.
We had some would basically run a river all the way across the board. But this was before we knew what the actual like game rules for water.
Oh, yeah. I mean, so we made it up every time.
We had halved the number of attacks, and we did it on that lengthwise scenario. And we'd got 2 or 3 pieces of obstructing terrain in the middle. And so there were only 2 ways that you could move in. And I think that I ended up with one massive block of brute drones or something in the middle. And you had attacked me in both directions. But because you were in the river, it just took forever for any damage to get done because we'd misunderstood.
We also used to play half move speed through the water.
That's right.
That was so annoying to figure out.
So bad.
But I'm pretty certain that was a rule.
2 inches.
I don't think that we'd made that up.
I don't know. I just remember it was so... Because, I don't know, what was it, like 5 inches wide or something? Can't remember. Maybe it wasn't quite that wide, but... I just remember one time going through it at an angle.
Yeah.
And so...
It takes 3 turns to move through.
Yeah, literally something like... Because I was having to move through like 7 inches of water, I had to move 14 to get through it. Yeah. I remember I was like, this is just taking so long. And we just had it if you had any stands in there. And then the other problem I had was because I was like a big block, I was either 2 or 3 stands deep. So it was so many turns I'd be in the water. Like we should have just done it from your front line or something. But it was like, no, some of my guys at the back are still in the water, so I'm still moving at half speed.
Oh, man.
Oh. Oh, yeah. I'm glad we've moved away from those rules. They were...
It was just like, anything that increases the amount of bookkeeping, it just like, just make it simpler. And it's like, if you stand in the water, like you don't get to inspire.
Yeah. That's part of that experience, I think, is an important part of the experience of playing Conquest, of misunderstanding a rule, playing with the same misunderstanding for quite some time until you notice something on the Discord and go, we've been playing it wrong this whole time. And then the rule changes anyway, and so we have to sort of learn a new rule. I remember really early on, we were playing when you would get broken based on wounds rather than stands.
Yes.
And we kind of learned that one and figured, okay, it's a bit harder now to get broken. Maybe it is meant to be a bit harder to get broken. And it was only at LGT when I noticed that the way that we had been playing broken and then shattered, we'd been playing it wrong. Because we'd interpreted the rules that you have to go through the process of becoming broken and then become shattered. And the intended reason is, or the intended interpretation of it is that you can become broken and shattered simultaneously at the same moment. Sure. So you don't need to become broken before becoming shattered if you lose 3/4 in one action.
Yeah, you just need to be halved twice, and that.
Yeah, so even like through a volley action.
And it's like the broken status triggers as soon as you like lose whatever stand.
And that could happen partway through an action.
Yeah.
Whereas we had interpreted it like on a clash action, if you lost a bunch due to damage and then lost another bunch due to resolve, you could get broken as the result of the original damage and then get shattered as a result of the resolve. And that's not it. It could be you lose all the way up to 1 remaining through damage and then 1 on the resolve, and that would be enough to shatter you.
We've done so many wrong rules. I remember we used to do objectives as radius for a while rather than diameter.
Oh, yeah. They were really small, Oliver.
Yeah, we got to tell GT, I'm like, man, these objectives are really small. I remember before as well, we'd be having like 5 stands facing off against 6, and we were really doing the maths on it. Whereas when they were smaller, we're like, this is easy. There's only a few stands in there.
Yeah, guys, is it not normal to be scoring every objective on turn 1? Like, what? Yeah, man. Do you remember when we used to play secondary objectives? Like right at the beginning when we had these little
fun,
cards?
Actually. Maybe we should introduce those back in.
Yeah, those were good fun. I enjoyed them. Because they're used for... I think they're used for tournaments in like Warhammer 40k. They have secondaries.
Was that right?
I don't know. Maybe they're not. But I know they use them on the Play on Tabletop YouTube channel, the 40k in 40 minutes or whatever. And that seems fairly legit battles. So I don't know, but it's obviously just Parabellum have not included it in their tournaments. Like, you don't gain.
I mean, I think it is a bit tricky because those secondary objectives, they lean into particular aspects of factions, which
they're all faction specific. Yeah,
but based on the way that you've built your army, they might not all be relevant. So, I mean, one of the ones for Spires is you win the objective if you've killed your own unit through decay or something. But you don't always end up running something that's going to give you decay, and so that feels like you could draw one at the beginning that you just can't win.
Yeah.
So in competitive play, that would feel a bit unfair, but it does make you behave in certain ways that you wouldn't naturally do, and you become quite unpredictable as a result.
Yes.
So yeah, they do make it fun. We should reintroduce that.
Yeah, this is a bit of fun. I think, one of the 100 Kingdoms ones was, was you had to successfully shatter an enemy regiment after a charge.
Oh, yeah.
And so, like, if I'm running an all infantry list, like, I'm not really going to probably do that. So, like, yeah, I get it. It depends on the list you're bringing. But, yeah, if you're bringing cavalry, you're like, yeah, I was... I had like maybe a 20% chance of being able to get that, because a lot of the time I'd end up just like killing the regiment instead. So it's like, it'll be nice, to like get this, but like unless they've got the right number of stands so that I can break and shatter them, then it's like,
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't feel like they were fun, but not always super balanced. Like I remember the Nords ones. Some were like really easy, like. I might be wrong here. I'm sure one of them was something like just to have the first successful charger around. Really easy to get. And I'm like, oh yeah, if I like, who used to randomly do it? I'm like, if I get that one, that's an easy extra point. But yeah, some of the other ones I was like, I had another one where I had to like shatter a regiment. I'm like, this is really hard. And they've got to have a big enough regiment that I can do this. And you've got to do it in one turn. And it didn't feel super balanced. Like it was fun and it added a level of randomness and people behaving a bit differently. But I'm kind of glad they don't do it in tournaments.
Yeah.
I think that the shattering happens relatively rarely in our games. And I think it's because we're not so tight on counting stands per turn.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of stuff gets broken and we miss it.
Yes, because things happen over multiple actions. And you're meant to be counting the stands per turn.
Yeah, and a lot of people play with that like internal counter going in their head, whereas like I've never played with that. I'm just like, look, if you do it in the action, I'll put it down, but unless I remember exactly how many things are, then I'm not gonna.
We end up having these conversations. How many stands were there at the beginning of this turn?
Just like,
That's what that casualty marker is meant to be for in the. In the markers, the token markers pack you can get from Parabellum.
Oh, so you're like, you put one down as soon as you
every time there's a stand that goes, then you're counting up.
Oh, that's smart. Yeah.
Yeah, it's clever. It's almost as if they've thought about like what to do.
Amazing. Cool. Josh, I know we had some meme lists to talk about. I feel like we've been doing a lot on it recently, but that's all good.
Yeah, well, I was... Obviously, the werewolves have, at least at the time of recording, are just about to be released or have just been released.
I mean, their rules are now on the app. So
yeah, they're on the app. We've got our new character for the Nords, which is exciting. So I was looking through him the other day, and I thought, okay, let's look at building some new lists around beasts. So. At first, I think I thought it might be a bit of a meme list. I'm just going to go heavy on the beasts.
Yeah. Sorry, just to interrupt. I think we'll talk about the list themselves, but I think next episode we can talk about how they like performed against each other and stuff like that. But yeah, is that what we were going to do? Or?
Yeah, I was just going to talk about a list we're going to play.
Great.
Cool. Right. Pause. So to give some context, people at home, the new character is the Vargir Lord, which I'm sure I've mispronounced.
No, I think you know it.
But he's kind of similar to a blooded. He's actually kind of almost the same stats as the blooded once you give him the brute upgrade. But what the main changes they've done with him is they've given him a kind of beast heavy warband, so you can run Fenner Beast Pack with him, Ugga with him, Werewolves with him, all as mainstay, and then the Nephir Beast Pack and Mountain Jotnar as restricted. But the really cool thing I saw about him, which I was like, I want to build around, is he's got a thing called Wolf Pack, which means if you run Werewolves and Fenner, they get Flurry.
Yes.
And I was like,
that's
great.
So nice.
So I started off, I was like, I'm going to run him.
So that's in the warband, right?
In his warband, yeah. So I'm going to run him. The kind of obvious like weapon to give him is one that gives him an additional 3 impacts and brutal impact 2.
Oh, so that's pushing him up to impact 7.
Impact 7, Brutal Impact 2, which when you're running him in a group of lights feels like you're really going to annoy someone when you charge into their light regiment.
Those mercenary crossbowmen aren't going to survive long either.
Oh no! I mean, that's just like a. I'll just pick them up. This one. Don't roll.
So, I basically decided to like grab 2 5-stand blocks of werewolves and 2 5-stand blocks of Fenrir Beast Pack. And then I was looking at that and I was like, that's like 1,200 points. And then I was thinking of running the second one of like basically just doing something similar to that again, just going fully beast. And then I thought, no, I'll try and make it maybe a little bit more legitimate. And another thing I wanted to try out is now with the new army rules, there's that army rule where if one of your regiments is already in contact, when another regiment charges that enemy regiment that's in contact with one of your units, you get a +2 to your charge.
Nice.
And raiders, you can get a shield biter, which gives them +2 to their charge. So I was like
begging for that side charge.
I'm like, raiders, where you've got +4 to your charge. It's gonna be nice. They're gonna be like little guys who are just charging out of nowhere.
That's a 9-inch charge, man.
You're
basically like an abomination at that point.
That's right. Yeah, 9-inch base, isn't it? So you're rolling on top of that.
9-inch plus your roll, and obviously you pretty much always run the standard bearer with them. So you're looking at like doing like a 13-inch charge. You're going to land half the time or more.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that sounds great. So I thought I'll put in a shaman because that supremacy feels great.
We love the Vanguard.
Exactly. And like especially when you're running brutes as well that have move 7, to give them Vanguard and have them running 21 inches up the board again just feels just really nice. So I thought I'd run a shaman with 2 groups of raiders. I think one was just an MSU and one's like a block of 5. And then I thought to try and make it a little bit more legitimate, I'd had a Sea Jotnar and what was my... Oh, it's the Bear Sarks, that was it.
Oh, yeah.
So just a couple of them, just a few heavy. So try and make it for like a bit more of a legitimate list. So that's my plan. I want to run that. I think the highlight is definitely got to be the werewolves. I mean, Regeneration 3. They're only Clash 2. But again, when they have Flurry...
The lights and they're with Flurry. Oh.
Like without Flurry, without being part of, that warband, like I think Flurry makes such a difference on Clash 2. Especially when you're inspiring up to Clash 3. 75% of your attacks should be hitting. And when you're getting 6 attacks per stand, that's going to be really nice.
And what's the cost of...
So werewolves are... okay, let me 160 base, and then my groups of 5 are 280. So they're a little bit expensive, but the ones that feel really cheap for what you get are the Fenrir Beast Pack, because they're 140 base and then 40 extra per stand. So for a 5 block, which I think's gonna cause some problems, you're looking at 220 points, which isn't much. They've got flank, so they're straight away running on turn 2. Again, you got Clash 2, which isn't great, but with Flurry, I think is going to be pretty consistent. 6 attacks, Evasion 2. They've got Fluid Formation. They've got Loose Formation, which is great for anyone trying to shoot you. Means they get half the number of shots. They've got Terrifying as well. I'm like, for 220 points, that feels like... The only problem is I'm worried if they perform too well, I'm going to have to buy some. And then I'm worried they're going to continue to perform too well and they're going to get nerfed, and then I'm going to regret spending all my money on them. But
hey, that's the Conquest way.
It's a matter of time before the wave rolls back in your favour, because I've sat here for the last 2 years with a set of, I think, 10 brute drones in my cupboard and haven't played them. And then suddenly they got Regen 4, and now I can't write a list without them.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just waiting for that swing pendulum to come the other way with the Ashen Dawn, because they are 100% getting nerfed. Like, they're just too good at the moment, and everyone hates them unless you're a 100 Kingdoms player and you love them. But, yeah.
So that's my list. What are you going to play against me? What am I facing?
Boy, that is a whole lot of dogs. That is a whole lot of dogs. And I think, what better to deal with a bunch of wild beasts than to bring a bunch of bowmen and hunters. So I am using the goblin list that I think Mass brought up in the Just Roll Ones podcast. It is from a girl called Hannah from Germany, who is apparently a very good 100 Kingdoms player. And she wrote this list, and it is insane. I think it is probably the most activations you can get in any army, any faction in Conquest. So it's 16 units. So it's 16 units, 4 characters. So you've got 20 activate. You've got 20 cards in your stack. You've got 20 cards in your stack. Oh my. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And somehow that squeezes exactly into 2,000 points.
20 cards. I mean, that's almost a Magic the Gathering deck.
You're right. I mean, we're just playing Commander at this point, right? Like, what's going on, mate? Oh, man. But yeah, so essentially it's the same 2 warbands twice. So there's 4 warbands. So the first one is the Imperial Officer, and he brings 3 crossbowmen and an Imperial Ranger Corps. He sits in the Imperial Ranger Corps, and he has double time and fire in advance. So what I'm hoping to do is a bit of this, they call it the scoot and shoot, which you can trigger fire in advance. So you move, shoot, or take aim and shoot, and then you get a free march if you've done a volley as your second action. But then because actually you want to move and shoot, because then if you move twice, you then trigger the double time draw event.
So you can move, shoot, move.
Yes, exactly. So it's like 3 moves on a shoot. It's insane.
Yeah, so take that out with your Vanguard.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm looking forward to using it. I think I'm a little bit like, it's actually going to be useful because, I'm shooting him. I don't want to run up in his face. So it might help me in running away. But so yeah, it's 2 of those, an Imperial Officer. He sits in an MSU. These are all MSUs, by the way, of Imperial Ranger Corps, and he brings along 3 units of crossbowmen with him. Okay, and then that's doubled. So then the second half of the army is a Noble Lord. So I just gave him his weapon master, which is Cleave 1. That's free. So these characters have no upgrades, by the way. They're just taking their free stuff with them. So the Noble Lord, he is bringing a crossbowman, 2 militia bowmen, and 1 unit of longbowmen. He sits in the longbowman. At least that's what I did. I think you could do it. Maybe he sits in militia bowman and he scores a little bit earlier, but I just don't want him to die because militia bowmen are trash. When I say their stat line is binary, it is literally a whole bunch of ones. It's a whole bunch of ones. Actually, I tell a lie. They're not exactly the same. The last warband has a set of longbowmen with 4 stands rather than 3 stands because there was some spare points over, I think. So yeah, I mean, obviously, what we spoke about in the last podcast about the extra activations when I played against you, Sam, with the 6 crossbowmen, that felt really strong, and this is essentially maximizing on that.
Yeah,
I think I'm going to struggle not having like heavies or even mediums.
Wait, so it's just lights?
Everything's lights. Everything is lights. The only thing that's not lights are the characters. So that's how you score. So you have to basically keep your characters alive.
You've got 4 medium characters.
4 medium characters, and all of the shooting is light.
So the idea is you only do damage through volleys, but you've just got volume of shots.
Destroy everyone, yeah. That's what you do. That's the goal.
Oh man. Okay.
And so what you want is ideally for stuff to kind of slowly come at you.
Yeah.
Because you just
Everything going into one, and then it disappears.
I think I've seen people run it where they're a bit more aggressive with movement. I think I want to run it a little bit more defensive and just kind of sit in the back, take my shots, take my time, because that's my advantage. So, I mean, yeah, we'll see how it goes. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I see against that brutes list moving up the table a little bit too quickly, getting picked off by a whole bunch of... I mean, it's got loose formation, hasn't it? And so it's not going to be doing as much damage as it could be against something else.
I mean, I think if they all focus one, they could be all right. Because, yeah, the Fenrir have got loose formation, so you're getting less shots in. And the other guys have got regeneration 3.
Yeah.
Which does help with a bit of plink damage, but that's if you're only getting shot at by, like, one
but it's
regiment.
plink damage by 16 units, isn't it? That's a lot of plinks.
I don't know. I think it'll be close. I think it will be... I don't know. My guess will be that I will get tabled, but maybe just be a little too far ahead on points.
Yeah, leak it out on the points. I see that.
Especially having mediums move up 21 inches turn 2, and I'm guaranteed them because of flank. I'm like, I think I can hold... It depends what the scenario is, but I think I can hold the objectives, hopefully long enough that I can just get it out of range. And obviously I'm going to want to try and kill any regiment with a character in it if I can possibly get close to it. Yeah. But I'm imagining...
Amongst the 8 MSUs of mercenary crossbowmen and 4 militia bowmen that will stand in your way.
Yeah, I mean, that is a lot of units to get through, isn't it? So I think it would be very dependent on scenario.
Yeah.
So if you, I can't remember the name of all. What's the one where you get 1 big one and 2 little ones?
Off balance.
Right. Okay. So that one is so low scoring that feels like if you don't get to that far objective, and you probably wouldn't,
be hard to.
So you're basically going to be scoring on the big one for as long as you can until you die.
Yeah. I was going to say, on the other hand, if you end up with melee, I am screwed because you score points for each regiment you kill.
Yes. Yes.
20 cards, so that would be 40 points.
Yep. Oh, you just win by killing me. Yeah. You wouldn't even need to bother with the zones.
Please.
Right then.
Oh mate, well I can't wait to play that list out. It's gonna be a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
I look forward to hearing the result.
Right. Well, I just think that's a good place to end. Thanks again. Thanks for listening. We have an email. I'll read it out this time.
Oh, good for you.
It is. Oh no, thank you. If you've got any questions, we do listeners' questions every episode. So if you would like to be featured in our prestigious podcast, then please email in at joshingaroundinair@gmail.com. That is joshingaroundinair@gmail.com. Thank you very much for listening. Goodbye.
See you.